And we're back once again, only on it's Last Call. Last Call with the alcohol, only on the lastcallpodcast.com. And yes, Thanksgiving is over for us Americans. We've enjoyed some turkey, some pie. We had a day off. There was Black Friday. And in between, there was an announcement from Dana White. And while this man here did not celebrate Thanksgiving, though he might have celebrated Black Friday with may or may not have bought some UFC games, some tickets, and maybe even a Fendi bag for the missus. He's here to rant, to rage, and tell us what's going on. I give you once again the ultimate insider and unbiased MMA analyst. I give you podcaster from the MMA Oddsbreaker podcast, his own podcast, and Eurosport UFC. I give you it is Marcel Dorff. So Marcel, let's start off here with so these are the announcements. We've got UFC 324 to UFC 325 on Paramount Plus. Just your thoughts, because as they were getting announced, I could tell just reading them off like you have a lot to say about it. So, what are your thoughts on the fights? And are you happy? Are you pissed? Or are you just sort of like disgusted?
Uh, yeah, it is difficult to say because I think the fights overall are fun fights, that's first. Do I agree with the matchups? Not necessarily, I think, like, for example, the Geathje Pimblett fight is a fun fight, but in my opinion, it shouldn't have been for an interim title. I understand that they want to have a main event for 324. But doing it's just weird that you have a fucking interim title and you don't have the number one contender in that interim title fight. You got like two random guys pretty much fighting for, and it's not random because these guys are well known. Don't get me wrong, but it should have been Arman against either of them, and not both them and not Arman. It doesn't make sense. Um, the other fights make sense. Kyla against Amanda Nunes. We knew that was going to happen. I have no problem with it. You got Sean O'Malley, Song Yadong, which is a good fight. It's a fun fight. I think it's going to be a striking battle a lot. Umar against Figueiredo, good fight as well. No problem with that. That's if Umar wins, he gets next for the title probably. So that's a good fight. I think we also have Waldo Cortes Acosta against Derek Lewis, which I actually proposed to you last week. So that's actually fun. They did it. So I'm good with that fight. Yeah, and the main event for Sydney, we have like Volkanovski Lopez. As much as I love Diego Lopez, and the matchup is fun. I mean, we saw that fight recently, and Volkanovski, it was a competitive fight, but he clearly won the fight. So I don't see why we need to rematch right now. I think either Lerone Murphy or Mosaevloev should have been in that fight. And I wonder what's going to happen. Imagine Volkanovski wins and he retires. Then you got two Diego losses in title fights, and Volk is gone. Do they still do Lerone against Evloev then? I don't know. What do they do if Lopez wins? Does Volk retire on the loss? I don't know. So, yeah, a lot of options. But I just think all fights are pretty fun. But I think both the main events shouldn't have been made, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion.
Are you surprised? I know the UFC is surprised, but are you surprised at the backlash on these fights? Because usually, when UFC announces fights, people are all excited, yay! And now this came out, and people are like, "What the hell? Why is there an interim title fight? Why is Volkanovski Lopez 2 happening? Why is Nunez and Harrison on the undercard, not the main fight?" Like, yeah, I can even imagine Dana going like, "Why are you people pissed? I don't understand. I thought you liked this," and everybody's like, "No, return to sender."
It's because it's unfair what they're doing. They pull favorites. And I understand it's a business thing and it's entertainment as well. But then you should rename the company Ultimate Entertainment Championship, and not Ultimate Fighting, because if you want to be a sport being legitimate, in my opinion, you should let the best fight the best. And now, like the best, and particularly in the interim title fight, there is no way you cannot give Arman the shot. And I know because I did my research. I researched. They didn't even ask Arman to fight in January. Arman wanted the fight in January. He had no problem if they offered him that interim title shot. But they didn't even ask him. They went around him and they went immediately to Paddy and to Gaethje. So it just people see that as well. I mean, listen, they can still be mad about Arman, what happened earlier this year in January with the Islam fight. After that, he made weight as a backup for an actual title fight between Topuria and Charles, you know. And after that, he beat Hooker in an absolute showcase fight he showed, against Dan Hooker. So what else does he need to do? And now we got to get a fight between Pimblett and Geathje. So imagine one of the two will probably win. And the winner of that fight will probably challenge Topuria in the summer. So Arman needs to either wait till late next year, or he has to take another one or two fights. I mean, does it make fucking sense, And also, like, if I was like, um, if I was like, they would be competitive with Arman. I think Arman smashes both guys, both Geathje and Pimblett, And I think the UFC knows that as well. The UFC is really like desperate to get Geathje into a title fight with Ilia Topuria. They wanted to do Topuria Pimblett. That was the original plan for this card. It didn't happen, because Topuria asked for some time off. And now they know if they could do Pimblett against Arman Tsarukyan, Pimblett would get destroyed by Arman. They knew that. So they're going to do Geathje. And Geathje can still win against Pimblett. Don't get me wrong, but there is a bigger chance for Pimblett to beat Geathje than there is a chance that he beats Arman. So yeah, I think it's just a dick move by the UFC, in my opinion.
So let's start first with Lopez versus Volkanovski. Diego
Mhm.
Lopez fired back. He was on, of course, Twitter, which that's always great when fighters are on Twitter. And his tweet was, "My face when I saw everyone crying." Two emojis of a guy smiling with tears in his face, laughing. Sitting around, he won't give you a title fight. Get to work. Stop whining on social media. Basically, to translate it, suck it, bitches, including you, Marcel. Suck it long, suck it hard. What do you tell guys like Lopez, who it's not his fault? He got a title shot. Like anybody, I have not yet met one fighter who, when Dana's handing out title shots, but no, that's not fair. If this guy deserves it over me, I'm gonna give it to you. Like I get people say he shouldn't do that, but if you're any fighter and you get a title shot, why the hell would you pass it up? And why not tell anybody who's complaining, like, yeah, you can go suck it long and hard. I don't care.
I mean, he could just, and nobody blames him for taking the fight. Of course, he takes the fight if he gets the opportunity. Nobody blames him for it. I would be a little bit more humble about it. I would be like, yeah, okay, guys. I mean, I got the title shot off for it. I'm not going to turn it down. Obviously, I'm willing to fight. I want to have the title. That would be enough, But I don't like the listen, and I like Diego, but I don't like the you should train hard or blah blah. These are guys all train hard, Murphy got a big knockout last time against Iron Pico, He got a good knockout against Jean Silva, and Evloev was injured. Okay, But and you didn't see Evloev complaining at all when the fight was announced. Evloev went to Murphy and it's like, let's fight against each other on the same card, Murphy wasn't happy with it. I think Aljo complained about it, and rightfully, I mean, listen, again, I like Diego. I have no problem with him fighting for a title and that he's accepting the fight, which is obvious. The problem lays with the UFC, not with Diego, But if I was Diego, I wouldn't tweet at that, I would be just like, okay, cool, I got the title shot, whatever, awesome, get another chance to become a champion. But yeah, don't have to post to other fighters that you get it and the other doesn't get it. You know what I mean? But that's my that's how I would look at it. But not everybody's the same.
Meanwhile, a fight which I'm surprised they made is Davison Figueiredo versus Umar Nurmagomedov. What happens if Davison beats Umar? Because that could happen. I mean, as much as we like to think that Umar is just undestructible, he could lose this fight. So if how much of this is a risk for Umar to take on a guy who has been a champion, who has pulled off big upsets in the past when people have written him off? Like, to me, this is one of those matches where if I'm the UFC, I'm like, oh, are you sure you want to do this? You could always
Here's a
just wait, let it marinate a bit.
Nah, there is a possibility Figgy wins, but I think Umar wins this fight handily, man. To be honest, Figgy is not like the guy he was at 125. He's at 135 now. I think he's still decent. Don't get me wrong, but nah, man, Umar all the way. I don't see a way for Figgy to win this fight. He has probably to keep it standing and to catch him with something, which is possible. But Umar has a too high fight IQ to let that happen, man. So for me, no. Umar is going to win, or Umar's going to win this, and there was a little to no, how do you say that? Little to no
Risk.
risk, yeah, in my mind that Umar is not going to win this fight. I'm just really honest.
Famous last words. We've seen this before. There was a guy named, I don't know, I heard he was the greatest of all time, GSP.
Yeah.
Lost to a guy named Matt Sarah.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing a young little Marcel Dorff, who was probably like a teenager at the time, probably
Yeah.
went, yeah, GSP is going to win. There's no risk. And next thing you know, uh-oh, what the hell happened?
I'm
So
going to be
yes, there is a risk. Like Davidson is a former champion. This is,
I'm going to be
there
honest
is
with
no,
you.
I guess, reward for Umar to win this fight. So again, why the hell did
Listen,
he take it? Why not just say, nope, I'm waiting for my title shot?
because he wanted to have another fight before he got another title shot. That's why. And Chris, I'll be honest with you. Back then, this UFC 69, I think you're talking about. I watched it back, but I wasn't watching live at UFC 69. It's before my time. But I give you an example where I felt the same way. That was back in the day when TJ Dillashaw fought Hernan Barral for the first time. I thought Barral was absolutely going to steamroll him. And yeah, TJ won that fight, and after the rematch he won as well. So yeah, I've been wrong before, and I won't be, I will be wrong many more times in the future. I'm fucking sure. But yeah, I think Umar wins that fight. I'm just being honest.
So let's go to the one that really has everybody upset with their Dana White privilege.
Mhm.
Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje for the interim lightweight championship. If you've been under a rock or if you haven't paid attention, there was, I guess, unfortunately, Ilya Taporia is taking some time off for family reasons. We're not going to get into it because we don't know the full story, but
Mhm.
let's just say that him and the missus are having some issues. He is spending time to take care of his children, to hopefully get everything organized and get back on, which I wish him well. I know you're in communication, you're wishing him well. So now we get the hard charging Justin Gaethje, who never met a fight, but he didn't decide, all right, it's going to be action packed. And he's taking on Paddy Pimblett, or as you call it, Dana White Privilege 3.0.
Mhm.
How much does this fight piss you off? It's for an interim title, and that Dana is basically just pushing Gaethje in there to become champion.
So the fight doesn't piss me off, like I said, as a fight because I think it's a fun fight. The fight pisses me off, and it's an interim title fight, which I think there is nothing to it, man. Why does this have to be an interim title fight? It doesn't make sense. And I wouldn't have a problem with it if Arman wasn't around. If Arman wasn't around, do it. I don't give a shit. But Arman is the clear number one contender. Solidified his place by his win last week. Um, and it's just a level above these guys, in my opinion. And just to not even offer him this interim title shot, it's just a lack of respect, in my opinion. And this shows me clearly that the UFC wants to see Paddy with gold. That's clearly what they want. And he still has to go past Gaethje. But imagine, man, he went into an interim title shot by beating fucking Michael Chandler, who hasn't looked good in the last 4 years. So that's how we got the interim title shot. Gaethje won against Fiziev in a pretty close fight as well, but he won that fight. And before that, he got started by Max Holloway. So we're pretty much getting two guys in the interim title fight, one guy on a one-fight win streak, and the other guy hasn't lost at the organization, but his best wins are Bobby Green, who hasn't looked good as of lately, and Michael Chandler, who also hasn't looked good as of lately. And we can also put on Tony Ferguson, a former interim champ, who hasn't looked good in 5 years. So it's like, what are we doing? And then we bench a guy who is like on a real good win streak, actually beat legit contenders, beating Charles Oliveira, although a close split decision, beating him, former champion, beating Dan Hooker, who was on a good win streak going into that fight, and we bench him. It doesn't make fucking sense. And people will be like, yeah, it's a business. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. They want Paddy as a champion, or at least to fight Topuria. That's what they want, and probably preferably in the White House event or something, or maybe International Fight Week, whatever, you know. But that's what they want, and yeah, that's the way they do it. It's just ridiculous, And it's not the first time they pull this kind of shit, and it's just sad.
By the way, I got a text from Dana White. Hold on, see. Let's see. You there, Chris? Shut the F up. Marcel, this is the fight business. Do you know what you know about the fight business? Nothing, dummy. You know how this is. Paddy draws money. Paddy draws fans. Hey, this is the fight business. We're about making money, not, just the best, we'll do rankings and all that because nobody wants to see a boring fight.
Then
Nobody
don't
wants
call
to
it
see a guy
sport.
that nobody cares about.
Don't call it a sport then. Then never call it a
Well, it is a
sport again.
sport. It is a business, though. That's how it is.
Yeah, don't call it a sport.
It is a sport.
No, it's not a sport. Then it's not a sport. A sport is the best against the best. This is not the best against the best. This is the most popular against the guy you hope to be a champion. That's not how it should work. It's not. This is not a sport. If you do it like this and will continue like this, it's not a sport. If you're gonna do Islam against Usman next, against Kamaru Usman, it's not a fucking sport. Clear as that.
Yeah, it is because some guys are allowed to take title shots. I mean, I get it. Look, at the same time, you're trying to make money here. Otherwise, okay, you're just doing an amateur tournament then, where you seed everybody, you put them in. That's how it is, and you do the rankings. Nobody will care, but hey, you can say we follow the rankings.
No,
As much as we complain here,
it's a skill issue by the UFC by not knowing how to promote certain fighters. Just a skill issue.
but we talked about it before. How like you can argue what you want, but guys like Ricky Hatton, guys like Conor McGregor. I can't believe I'm saying this because it pains my soul. Guys like Logan Paul, they draw eyeballs. They sell tickets. I mean, it has to matter. Otherwise, like, okay, again, then we're in, the amateur. I'm playing devil advocate here because I agree with you. This shouldn't be an interim. But if we're doing what you say, then great. We're in the amateur business where, yeah, why even do interviews? Why even promote yourself? Why do any of this when it's just going to be pure rankings. We don't care who sells tickets. Just here it is. This is a business, Marcel. TV networks want exciting guys. Paddy Pimblett is an exciting guy. You give the fans what you want. I mean, it's if you go to. I know you don't go to McDonald's because you are this, gluten-free fellow here, but it's usually if you go to McDonald's or Burger King, you get what you want. Not, oh yeah, well, we're gonna give you a gluten-free because it's better for you. It's healthy. Why are you eating then if you're not going to be healthy? Just listen to the experts.
Yeah. What do you want me to say?
Just admit, hey, this every sport there is a business. You are trying to sell tickets. Unfortunately, this is the fight business. Sometimes guys, because they talk, because they have personality, because they are fun, they get to skip the line. It sucks, but it is part of the business.
I understand the business. At the same time, they can still suck my dick.
Let's see. Don't tell Dana that, Marcel. He might just go on a rant next to you, maybe even blackball you from watching Paramount. But that's a different story for a different day. Yeah. What happens if Gaethje wins? Because I know a lot of people think Gaethje's going to lose, Paddy Pimblett will somehow win. But if Gaethje wins, does Dana then make Arman Tsarukyan versus Justin Gaethje?
He has to. He has to, right? So yeah, he will. If Geathje wins, he has the right to fight for a title. And that's what I mean. It's just yeah, it's then you have like imagine Geathje wins this fight, and even if Paddy wins this fight, so then you have like two guy or one guy who's gonna fight for the title while you bench the number one contender. So yeah. But yeah, if the UFC wants to do that, they should do that. Who am I to say they shouldn't? But they will do anyways. They will do anyways.
Oh, if Paddy Pimblett wins,
Yeah,
Tsarukyan's not getting next shot. They're gonna wait to Topuria, and even
of
you'll
course.
love that because we'll get the trash talk matchup of all time: Paddy Pimblett, Ilya Topuria, Marcel Dorff in the corner as Topuria's hype man. Running around, flipping off Paddy, going, "Hey, Sousers suck. Dutch chocolate rules. Taporia's gonna basically put his balls on your forehead, and you can't do anything about it. I can tell already, Marcel, you're getting excited about that. You say you're not, but even deep down, you want Paddy Pimblett versus Ilya Taporia. You want to see Taporia just do bad things to Paddy Pimblett and make Dana White cry. You can deny it all you want, but that's what you really want.
I mean, that will happen if they fight each other, man. Ilya will destroy Paddy, 100%. I'm not even saying that because I would want Paddy to lose. I know he's gonna fucking lose against Ilya, you know. Uh, I mean, there's only one guy in this whole division who has a good chance to match Ilya, and that's Arman. And I don't say Arman will win, but he has a good chance against Ilya. That's a fun fight, because it's a close fight, probably, you know. But all these other guys, they will get destroyed by Ilya, So Ilya doesn't even need me as a hype man. he will he will dismantle Paddy within two rounds.
In all seriousness, are we underestimating Paddy Pimblett? Because you were the one who told me, "Hey, Michael Chandler's going to knock out Paddy Pimblett. Watch." You told me, and I went to the
Yeah,
bank and I bet money
I
on it.
know.
And what happened? Yeah, Pimblett won by choking out Chandler. And I went to Marcel and I said, "Hey, it cost me $50. What the hell happened on it? I don't know." So could he
But
surprise? I mean, could we be wrong and Paddy Pimblett is the next Conor McGregor who beats everybody, including Topuria and Arman Tsarukyan?
they look good, man, against Chandler. I'm not going to say he didn't, At the same time, how bad has Chandler looked as of lately, But I don't want to take anything away from Pimblett because he really looked good in that fight. But the thing is, like, he can also beat Geathje. I think he really can beat Geathje because his ground game is good and he's a good chin, so he can beat Geathje. At the same time, you know, he's getting the easiest way to the top in the UFC. You know, and he's not beating Arman. He's not beating Ilya. Forget it. Those are the two guys he's not beating in the division. The other guys is possible, And yeah, I maybe underestimated him a little bit, like the last couple of times. At the same time, I know what he can do. I've seen him fight even before he was in the UFC. Um, but he gets opportunities others don't get. And that's what's bothering me. But yeah, he can beat Geathje, and the UFC knows he can. He'll be able to beat Geathje. That's why they made this fight crystal clear. They could have done Arman against Ilya. They never wanted to do that because they know if Arman beats or Arman against Paddy, because they know if Arman beats Paddy, they can never do the Paddy against Ilya fight. That's why they didn't put Arman in this fight. So that's pathetic. But he can definitely beat Gaethje 100%.
How badly is Armin in the timeout? I mean, and I get it. Look, he had a back injury. It was never fun. I've had back injuries and they suck, but yeah, you had to almost figure that because he pulled out of a title fight because of his back. That literally has put him on like the ultimate, UFC Dana White shit list that he can't get off of. So, what does he need to do to get off of it? Because you can tell right now, but Dana's as Mohad Fudali keeps putting on his little videos. Please, Dana, please give me my shot. And Dana keeps going, no. So what does Armin have to do to get that title shot? Because it feels like short of begging and like, 50 lashes across the back, he ain't getting it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I cannot give you a clear answer to that. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I mean, as I said, this isn't like if it was just the back, I would go okay. But remember, he also got to seemed to appear to strike a fan while walking to the octagon at UFC 300. I'm guessing Dana was not happy with that. Then he was banned for for 9 months because of that. Fine, 25 grand. Again, I like Armin, but yeah, you even know what to admit. When you do like two things that piss the UFC off, usually it's like, yeah, um, there needs to be like begging, like ritual begging, one of those, like public, floggings, because That's how the UFC is. You do that and you embarrass them and you pull out a fight. It's like, oh crap. Next fight, we might just cut your ass.
You know what it is, Chris. You know, there have been how do you say that? Fighters before who also pull out their fights, and the UFC is still cool with them. You know, I think I was talking to Alex Barunin last night, and he was like, the UFC was absolutely not a fan of Merab Dvalishvili, you know, and now he's like, how do you say that? Like a company's favorite, you know, because he takes quick title fights, he fights often, you know what I mean? So it's all like, I don't know that's what I mean. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, so I can only talk about what I see and what I think. And that's pretty much it, you know. I'm just saying what I think. Again, this fight, super fun fight between Geathje and Pimblett. I like the fight, just don't like it to see it in an interim title fight. That's it.
Well, let's move on to things you like. Because I feel bad. I get you all lathered up and you get in a pissed off mood. You're like, oh God, I want to fight somebody. So I'm going to give you something you like. We're getting Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili 2. And I know that you like this fight. So let's start off here with the big question. How the hell does Petr Yan beat Merab in a 5 round fight the second time around?
Not very likely, probably, you know,
I
because
know
we
not very
know.
likely, but you're the expert. That's why you bring you on the show. That you
Yeah.
love to just drop F-bombs. So you are Petr Yan's corner. You are his head trainer. We replaced him with you, and you're looking at Petr Yan. He goes, "I want to beat Merab." How do you beat him if you're Petr Yan? Like what you see out of him? What can he do to basically beat the guy that seems to be sort of near untouchable in his division?
Petr Jan's trainer replaced by me. Peter will be like, who's that fat fuck in my corner? But yeah, I mean, what can he do? He has to make sure that he doesn't get pressed to the cage and get taken down, you know, like in the first fight. Has to keep his distance, has to try to pick him apart, but it's difficult, you know. The thing is, you cannot play that game with Merab because Merab has like cardio for 19 minutes, not for 25 minutes, but for 19 minutes, you know. So you cannot play that game, and that's why I said will be really difficult for Petr Yan to do different than last time. You know, I would love to see Jan do well. I like both guys a lot. I like Jan a lot and Merab a lot. You know, but this is stylistically is just a horrible matchup for Petr Yan. You know, because Merab will keep pressing him against the cage. So he has to find a shot to stagger him or something and to finish him. But this goes to a decision. Merab wins again. You know. Um, I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't see a lot of options for Jan to win this fight, although I think Jan is one of the best of the division. But Merab's style is so difficult to fight because this guy, listen, a lot of these guys like Merab, you know, they have cardio for 7 or 8 minutes to do this, you know, and then they slow a little bit down. And then the other fighter can try to take over to get it finished. But Merab never slows down. So, and this guy is also still getting better. He is good on the ground, you know, his wrestling is good. His stand-up game is getting better every time we see him fight. The only thing that I think is a little bit problematic sometimes is the problem for Merab to keep the guy he's fighting on the ground because I know he loves it. He gets over 30 takedowns or attempts in a fight. But if your really control is really good, you only need probably 2 or 3, you know. So that's the only thing. But he's super busy, man. I cannot pick against Merab. As far as I listen, I like Merab as a champ, but I would love to see Petr Yan as a champ again, you know. But I don't see it, man. You know, I really don't see it. Although I would love to because he's a super fun fighter and one of my favorites. But yeah, it's I actually this fight for me cannot have a loser because I really like both guys. But yeah, it's Merab is just a really difficult fighter to how do you say to decipher. You know what I mean? He got 2 losses in the UFC, and both losses are very controversial in my opinion. So he's just a really difficult guy to fight.
Merab Dvalishvili lost his second fight in the UFC to Ricky Simon by technical submission, guillotine choke.
Yeah, did you saw the fight?
Yeah, yeah. Since then, he's racked up a impressive 14 fight win streak. So, what's changed, like from when you've seen him fight against Ricky Simon to his last fight against Corey Sandhagen? Is it mental? Is it physical? Has he changed his style? Like if you're Petr Yan, can you go back to that fight, Ricky Simon fight, and go, I see this is what I can catch him with? Or is that just like looking at like a guy who used to be like a toddler go, oh yeah, well he was this and now he's no longer this. So that old tape of him being a toddler, I might as well just shred it and burn it.
No, Marab never changed his style, in my opinion. He just became better, you know. And to talk about the fight against he lost to Frankie Saenz and Ricky Simon. The Frankie Saenz fight was a bad decision. Even Frankie Saenz said after the fight, I have no idea how I got two judges on my side. And the Ricky Simon one, he destroyed Ricky Simon in that fight, man. He took him down, controlled him, went crazy, you know. Uh, and then at a certain, I think like 45 seconds before the fight was over, he jumped for another takedown. And when he slammed Ricky to the ground, he slammed his own head to the ground. And he was for a short moment, he was out, you know, but the ref didn't saw it. So the fight continued and Ricky was able to uh, put him over and get him in a guillotine choke. And he was cycling, trying to get out of the guillotine choke. And I remember when the fight was over, so the buzzer went, Ricky let go. And he was like looking like kind of vague on the ground. And then the ref was like, are you good? And he gave us a thumbs up. I'm like, I'm good. And then he wanted to stand up, but the guys, or the woman and the man from the doctors told him to lay down, you know, to stay down, to check him, you know, but he wanted to go up. Then it went to a commercial break. And when he came back, they declared it like a submission by TKO or some guillotine choke or whatever for Ricky. So that's why I said really controversial ending, in my opinion. He won all three rounds pretty much almost, you know. So I didn't agree with the stoppage there because I thought he was still there. He wasn't out. But hey, whatever. But he really leveled up, man. You see in every fucking fight you see of this guy, he's leveling up. Even against Sandhagen, he had Sandhagen in trouble, man. I was like, if Sandhagen can keep the standing, he has a chance. He even was better at the striking with Sandhagen than Sandhagen was. So he's leveling up as well as a champion. And that's what makes it scary, in my opinion, because before he was like really good with the takedowns, controlling and the space, but he's also his striking is coming together, you know, and that's a different beast, you know. So that's why I'm really high on Merab. I think he was always good, but he just leveled up. And I mean, he's training with Aljamain Sterling and these other guys, Nazim Sadikov, Matt Favola, these other guys at Saralongo. That does great for him, you know. And plus that, I think he's a really fun guy as well. So yeah, good champion in my opinion.
Could he suffer from just overwhelming? I mean, we talk about he will by this time now, this is as we're talking here on November 29th, 2025, he will have fought four times this year, and all of them have gone at least 3 rounds, two of them 5 rounds. I get he's in great shape, but at what point, and he fought just as recently as October 4th. So at what point does this get just catch up? Does all of a sudden the body start getting worn down because hey, you're not the human body was not allowed to just take this kind of stuff, let alone, fight 4 times a year. That eventually, it's you're just going to have that bad day where things, you start cramping up, something tightens up, and Petr Yan, who we've seen, he can knock somebody out. He just catches them. How likely is that? Just maybe it happens. And all of a sudden, 4 fights is too much this year, and Jan goes for broke and catches him right in the early first round. Next thing you know, we have a new champion.
Can you ask the last part again, please? Because I kind of missed that for some reason.
What's the likelihood that between fighting 4 times and Petr Yan, let's say, just going for broke right away, that we get a new champion? This is just too much on Merab's body.
Yeah, it's possible, of course. You know, it's definitely possible. I think Jan starts slow, right, in the first round. He normally gets the first round away. I don't think that's a good idea this time. But the thing is, like, this Merab guy, like, I think I posted a couple of years ago. I have Merab as a friend on Facebook. I posted a couple of years ago, man, I wish I had 5% of Merab's cardio, and he was smart. He was laughing when I posted that. But it's true, man. His cardio is such a game changer in this thing, because a lot of fighters, which makes sense, get tired after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, because it's stuff on their body. But this guy, dude, know how he does it. I really don't know how he does it, but I have so much respect for that. And for Jan, we know Jan is a fit guy as well, but at the same time, he doesn't have the cardio that Merab has, So he needs to do something. And he cannot take points against Merab. It's impossible because he will come forward and try to get you down. So he has to clock him, probably. And that will be difficult. But that's his only opportunity, in my opinion, in this fight. And yeah, let's see what happens.
It's youth versus experience in the co-main event of UFC 323.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the can't miss kid that everybody's talking about in the UFC, the uber prospect Joshua Van versus many will say possibly on his way to being the greatest flyweight champion and Alejandro Pantoja. So is it if you're Joshua Van, is this too early of a step? I mean, I get it. Look, we talked about earlier. He ever since his loss to Charles Johnson, he's been like a demon out of hell, just overwhelming Sharias, overwhelming, Cody Durden, overwhelming Ray Sierra, knocking out Bruno Silva, beating, Brandon Royval. Is this still too early for him taking on a guy who right now he's on the same level as Merab? There doesn't seem to be anybody who can really challenge him.
It's pretty much for Van, it's a win-win situation, in my opinion, because even if he loses here, he will get a lot of, how do you say that? A big opportunity here to learn and to implement what he learned in his upcoming fights, He's still super young. So for him, it's pretty much a win-win situation. For Pantoja just needs to win, He needs to keep going on with the legacy he's having. Maybe he can. I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to challenge Merab if he wins here after this one. So it's an interesting fight for sure. We see Pantoja. Pantoja is also a guy who, just like Merab, he was decent before, but after he came world champion, he became better as well, and he's starting to finish guys as well, So that's really good. He looked great against Kai Kara France. He looked amazing against Kaya Sakura. So he looked really good in this championship fights. That's an interesting fight for sure. I think the UFC, and that's what I think, is they're going to give him Horiguchi next. Although Horiguchi just got one win, but I really think they're going to do that because they love how Horiguchi fought, and it's a rivalry between two teammates who wanted to fight each other. But he has to beat Van first, and I think it will be a very competitive fight. Listen, if you ask me who's going to win, I would pick Pantoja purely because of his experience and a 5-rounder title fight. He's fought them so many times already. But Van can surprise, Van is a young guy, brings a lot to the table. Also a guy who a lot of times loses the first round to see what his opponent does, and then goes full unleash and wins the other rounds or finishes. Interesting fight, like I said. It can go both ways, but I'm kind of a bitch here. I'm taking the how do you say that? The safe bet. I'm taking Pantoja on this one.
Can Van do that? Can he give away the first round of a fight like this? Because we've seen from Pantoja that if you're not sharp in that first round, he can finish you. Happened with Alex Perez where he got him with a submission crank in the first round. Happened just 2 fights ago where Kai Asakura really wasn't sharp and he pounced on him second round rear naked choke within to retain his title. Can Joshua Van do that where all of a sudden he gets in a hole and next thing you know, Pantoja's just, overwhelming him to the point where, all right, he's getting finished within 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible, but we will see. This is definitely. It's. I think after one round, we're gonna know who's gonna win this fight. That's what I think. But this is an interesting one. I'm really looking forward to it. Joshua Van did something amazing. He went from he took an opportunity after beating Bruno Silva, fighting Royval, got that win. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? All credits to this guy. And if he wins, it would be amazing. If he loses, yeah, it's okay. It happens. But yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see.
So right now, you are Joshua Van's trainer, and yes, I know he probably will not look at you and go, "Who the hell is this you know mutton chop guy in my corner?" He won't be me because he seems like a very polite guy. But you're sitting down there and you're like, "All right, we got to figure out how to beat Pantoja." Is there any way you can pull up that tape with Oscarov and go, "This is what you need to do. This is how you can beat him," or has Pantoja basically, like Merab, taken his game to a next level where that Askarov tape, you might as well just take it, throw it in the trash?
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? He did well. But Pantoja has since his loss to Askarov, he did really well. So we cannot keep looking at that one. I think um, people don't even remember that anymore. To be really honest, I do because I'm a big Askarov fan. But at the same time, people don't remember that anymore, man. So it's all good. He has showed that he is the best in the division, and that's it.
So if you were Van's corner, how do you beat Pantoja? Do you change and go, all right, we need the first round, you can't wait, you have to be more aggressive? Do you try to drag him into the deeper water and catch him because you're younger? Like, if you were in charge of Van's corner, what is, I guess, the best way to attack a guy who has been just sort of unstoppable for the last 5 years?
I mean, they will have a game plan, but what the game plan will be, I have no idea. The thing is, like, Pantoja is really, how do you say that? Really all round. So there's a. I think if Van wins, he has probably not gonna have to knock him out. That's what I think, to be really honest. He has to stop him. Van can be very aggressive if he wants to. So there is a possibility. At the same time, he will be vulnerable as well if he fights too much open because Pantoja, like I said, experience can finish the fight on the feet, can finish the fight on the ground. Van has probably to keep it standing. Although Van is not bad on the ground, but I think Pantoja is a level above. So yeah, it's an interesting fight, and we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. It's difficult to say.
So meanwhile, is Pantoja becoming, dare I say, on the same level as Mighty Mouse? I mean, we look at Mighty Mouse and we look at his dominance, and it was 11 straight title defenses. And it was a lot of them were some decisions, some finishes, but we're going, okay, we'll never see another guy like that again.
Well, we
Pantoja
talk.
now has
Okay.
four. This will be
Yeah.
five. I mean,
Mhm.
can we argue the same thing that he's getting to that point where we might look at him and Mighty Mouse and go, they're on the same level almost.
Problem is, Mighty Mouse will always have to be one, probably in the division because of the many title defenses. My opinion, you cannot really listen. People will say, yeah, but Pantoja had probably the better opponents. I don't agree with that necessarily, because then we can say about all new champions that they had the better opponents than the guys back in the day. I think, but Demetrius Johnson's still number one flyweight of all time, in my opinion. But Toja's number two right now. He has done so much good things. He's probably number two, and yeah, he's good. I mean, I don't know what he wants. Maybe he wants to go to bantamweight. I've heard that before that he wants to challenge Merab. We'll see. We will know a lot more after next week, after the event. Let's see what if Pantoja wins. Let's see what he says. Let's see if he's like, I want to fight Kyoji. Maybe I want to fight the winner of Manal Kaap against Royval. If Kaap wins, maybe a rematch. And maybe he wants to fight Merab. And I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC is cool with that because like Pantoja has almost played out in the flyweight division. I think.
If he does win,
Yeah.
should he be allowed to challenge Marab next? I mean, has he cleaned out the division, or should he still stay and fight Horiguchi for that one more final flyweight defense?
I always say if you have like, I say with five title defenses, you should be able. A lot of people say three, so let's go in the middle four. I'm good with it, dude. If he wins here to fight at bantamweight, there have been a lot of other champions who only have one title defense, or Conor McGregor no title defenses, who were able to fight in another division for a higher division. So why not? I mean, if he wins again here against Van, I think he deserves it. So I would have no problem with that at all.
Let's go to the rest of the card because when it got announced, all I could think of was you must be in hog heaven. You were probably sitting there going, this is my kind of card.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
got two bantamweights, two flyweights. We got only one light heavyweight fight on the main card here. Is
It's
this the?
beautiful.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this like your dream card where it's like, okay, we'll let one little big guy come in here, but everybody else, it's just flyweights and bantamweights.
Yeah, it's almost like this is like fucking with no Vaseline needed because everything is wet already. You know what I mean?
So there
It's
was nipple play in the Dorff house. You're like, oh.
it's beautiful, man. I love it. You got like you got fast paced action on this card. And even Blachowicz Guskov is a fun fight at light heavyweight. I think. So you got fucking Moreno Tyra. That's a fucking great fight, dude. At flyweight, I love that. Tyra is one of my favorite prospects at flyweight. Moreno is a proven guy at flyweight. Still looks great. Looked great against Albazi. It's a fun fight. Cejudo Talbot. You got fucking Talbot, who looked great against Lima last time after his bad loss to Barcelos. Cejudo, probably his retirement fight. Let's see if he can do it one more time. I think it will be difficult against Talbot. And we got Blachowicz Guskov, which is interesting. Is Guskov really like that great guy who everybody thinks he is with the knockout power, or still young? Young is still going strong, dude. So, love the fight.
So the undercard is even full of guys. I mean, I was looking at this. There's only, let's see, one, two, three, four fights in the card where guys are heavier than 170 pounds or more. On the prelim card, we got Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres in a
Mm-hmm.
lightweight scrap. Terrence McKinney versus Chris Duncan.
Yeah.
Macy Barber takes on Karine Silva,
Mm-hmm.
and Nazim Sadikov takes on Fares Ziam in a lightweight scrap.
Yeah.
Who has the best chance of pulling off an upset of these four fights? Which fight do you look at and go, this fighter could possibly upset the favorite?
I think the biggest possibility is the firefight probably between McKinney and Duncan. I think Duncan is the favorite going into this fight. McKinney always has a fucking chance because he is so heavy-handed and he goes for broke early in the fight. And a lot of times it helped him a lot by getting a finish, and a lot of times also he got finished. This guy has 100% finish ratio rate with winning and losing. So he's never been to a judge's scorecard. Duncan has looked amazing lately. Had that great scrap with Rabeski earlier this year. One of the better fights of 2025. He got the win by choke against Vucenic also earlier this year. He choked out Oki. Uh, he looked really good, man. That's a fight, but that's a fight where McKinney can't surprise by knocking out Duncan because he's the underdog. Another fight also where I think the underdog can surprise is Nazim Sadikov against Farazian. You know, Great fight. Two lightweights who are really on the roll. Sadikov looked great against Mata last time. And Ziam knocked Frivola's head into the French crowd. So both guys really good. Thing is, like, Ziam also can fight a boring fight sometimes. And if that happens, then Nazim is probably screwed. But Nazim is going to try to take his head off. It's going to be a fun fight as well. So those two are really fun to me. Barber, Karine Silva. I think Barber wins. I think she's a level above Karine. Although I love to see Karine win, but I think Barber wins. And the other one was Dawson against Torres, right? It depends. If Dawson can grapple with him and can make it boring, he can win the decision. But if he gets caught again, like he did with King Green, what happened? Yeah, he can also lose. So, but I think Dawson will probably try to play it safe because he knows Torres is a very dangerous guy. So, but yeah, interesting fights, man. we might be in for some upsets.
Let's talk about Macy Barber for a second.
Sure.
The last time she actually fought
Yeah.
was all the way back in, but my record comes to March 9th, 2024 against Caitlin Serminara. Since then, it's been just had to pull out. So scheduled to take on Rose Namajunas July 13th, withdrew from a bout due to health problems. Okay, well, that happens. Then she was scheduled to fight May 31st. Once again, came in a bit heavy and then had to withdraw due to medical issue involving a seizure. Literally right before the fight, minutes before the walkout. Okay. If this happens again, and cross our fingers, hopefully December 6th she'll be healthy and walk down the cage. But if she has another issue where she has to pull out or she misses weight, if you're the UFC, you just cut her right there and go, this isn't working. This is now three fights where we've scheduled you for a fight. You can't do it. Clearly, MMA is something that is just not in the cards for you.
Yeah, of course I would cut her if it happens again. Yes. The answer is yes, but let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope it doesn't. But the answer is yes to that question. Clear and simple yes.
Why doesn't she go to bantamweight? I mean, at this point, if after twice you've had this issue with weight and medical issues, I mean, you know people, so you get the inside scoop. Why is it that Macy's camp has been and her have been dead set fast on no, we're gonna stay at flyweight, even though health wise, it's like it's proven like okay, you've had problems, you cannot make this weight, you need to move up.
I can't be political incorrect here on this on this podcast, right?
You're allowed to be. You can say whatever you want. You're not in America, so they can't sue you. So
Okay.
feel free.
I mean, listen, I don't want to be. She got breast enhancements as of lately as well, and that can also be an issue there, because she already always had already trouble making 125, and when you got some extra weight on your chest, might be more difficult to make it, And even somebody was telling me like maybe she got a how do you say that? Because it doesn't her body doesn't react well to that. I don't know, It's just hypothetically speaking. I'm not sure, So don't shoot me up for it, but it's a possibility, of course, So I don't know. I think like if you already struggle making 125 or don't make it easily and then you get like implants or whatever, it might not be a good idea to do that during your career, in my opinion. But hey, again, my opinion, I'm not a girl, so um, that
You're
might be
being more
something
polite
as
than I
well.
am. Could we just say that she's a dumbass? I mean, I get it. I can't insult women. You have to be polite, but at this point, you're kind of a dumbass if your body's told you twice this isn't going to work, and you're going, no, we're going. Let's try round three. It will work. Like
Yeah,
again, should her father, should her trainer, should somebody have sat her down and went, "This is not helping. You need to go to 135." Even the UFC, because they've invested a lot in her. Should somebody have just sat her down and go, "We are not putting you at 125. It's 135 or bust."
I agree with you, but obviously she doesn't have these people around her who tell her that. So yeah, but I agree with you.
Basically on the rest of the card, the early
Yeah,
prelims.
hmm
We've got Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira,
yeah,
Edison Barboza versus Jalen Turner, Ibu Barinuski versus Ibu Aslan in a light heavyweight
yeah.
scrap, Mansour Abdul Malik versus Antonio Tricolio, and in the featherweight scrap, Muhammad Naimov versus Marion Santos. Let's start off here with Edison Barboza. He's the guy who he's 39. It feels like he's 50. He's been around for a long time here.
Yeah.
Could this be the final fight we see him in? And look, this is a guy who is Mr. Action Packed. Win or lose, it's one of those things where it's you must see because he's always in a fun fight. But if he loses, and this has been his return to Lightweight, he'll be he's 4-2 in his last six fights. Is it safe to
Yeah.
say if you're the UFC, it's like, all right, thank you for the memories, but we need to move on.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is the guy he's fighting coming back out of retirement, but is like much younger than he is. Yeah, I think so. Listen, Asa Barbosa was always like a staple in the division. Had a lot of fun fights, great moments, knockouts as well. But yeah, I think he's kind of after his prime right now, and let's see what he can do against Turner because Turner is like really inconsistent as well. Comes back now out of retirement, maybe has that fire burning again, which he didn't have last time anymore. And the funny thing is, like he retired earlier this year, end of the year is returning. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, and listen, if you ask me who I think is going to win, I would pick Jalen Turner. But yeah, Barbosa. We saw last time Barbosa. He's still like competitive, but he lost to close, And yeah, I think the best of Barbosa is pretty much gone. I think.
Could this be like a loser leaves town fight, basically, where either whoever loses, UFC has a pink slip ready going, okay, we tried, it was fun, we had laughs, but it's time for you to go.
Yes, probably. Maybe I don't know how many fights he has left on his contract. Maybe they let him fight out of his contract. That would be cool as well if they do that. I have no problem with it. But that's up to the UFC and it's up to what Barbosa, does. I think.
Meanwhile, we have Marvin Vittori versus Bruno Ferreira.
Yeah.
Marvin's one of those guys where at one point we thought, okay, hey, he might be a title contender here. Like he had, I still remember when ran off three straight wins against Carl Roberson, Jack Hermanson, Kevin Holland. He then fights for a UFC middleweight title against Israel Adesanya, beats Paulo Costa, and ever since then it's been downhill. He doesn't lose to just bums. Like his last fight, like we talked about his last five fights, he's 1-4, but it's Robert Whitaker, Roman Dolizzi, Brendan Allen, Jared Cannonier, all of them by decision. Are you surprised the UFC didn't give him a cupcake in between? Like, all right, look, we know you've been through murderer's row. You haven't had even his win was against Roman Dolizzi. So again, is there a point where UFC should have went to him and said, "Look, we're gonna give you a cupcake. Try to get you back on the high horse. Try to get you on the winning streak because it's like the old days where, oh yeah, oh you lost to this guy. Well, we're gonna give you a tougher guy again and again and again."
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from this fight at all, to be honest, Um, uh, it's a really odd booking, I feel like, Um, Marvin Vittori has a great chin, he's never been stopped. At the same time, you're now fighting Bruno Ferreira, who has knockout power. But I'm not convinced of Bruno Ferreira, so it's like a really weird fight. I also think that the odds are really close on this fight. I know I did the podcast with Adam yesterday. I picked Ferreira in that one as an underdog, but super close fight, man. And there will be a time that Vittori's chin is gone. His chin will not hold up forever. And Ferreira might be the guy to do it, but yeah, I'm not sure. It's an it's just a really weird fight overall, in my opinion. I have no idea who to pick here. Um, yeah, I would go Ferreira, but it can go both ways, in my opinion. If Vittori wins, it might be a decision. If Ferreira wins, he knocks him out.
Meanwhile, this is why you get the big bucks. This is why people say that you are the inside man when it comes to MMA action. We've got the last Ottoman, Ibu Aslan from Turkey, taking on the Polish power himself, Iwo Rudy Baranowski. Rudy's the guy who's undefeated. He's 6-0. He, judo. He has, World Judo Championship bronze medal in 2018, two-time men's submission, in 2019 bronze, 2020 gold for the Polish nationals, Gamma World Championships. This, I mean, you could tell the UFC already loves this guy because they're giving him, a big fight right off the bat after winning Contender Series. What does he bring? And how good is the new, I guess, Polish big rising star?
It's another weird ass fight, and I will tell you why. You got Ibo Aslan. Let's talk about Ibo first. Fought 4 times or 3 times in the UFC. Got a great win in his debut against Cerquera, but we didn't know back then that Cerquera got finished by almost everybody. You know. Then he fights Kuchelaba, and Kuchelaba showed that he didn't have a ground game. And then he fought Ilekana, one of the worst fights of this year, and he lost again. So now he's fighting the Baraneski guy. Baraneski looked great in his contender series fight. He finished Muhammad Ali, not the boxer Muhammad Ali, but another one in 20 seconds. The thing is, you cannot say a lot about that fight because it was such a short fight. You don't know what to expect from this guy. I think what I've seen from him, like in other fights, that he has to he can also ground fight, so he doesn't have to stand and trade with Aslan. Aslan's only chance is to catch him stand up. Aslan doesn't have the ground game pretty much. And I think Ivo Baraneski wins the fight. I have to say the last name because it's Ivo against Ivo. So I think Baraneski wins the fight. Probably, I think he gets a submission win, man. I think maybe club and sub. That's what I think.
How much of this feels like they're setting up Rudy, Ivo Baranowski for big things because light heavyweight's full of a lot of guys who are in their older years. Pereira seems to want to go to heavyweight. You could probably bet that Jan Blachowicz and other guys are also going, hey, heavyweight, we want to cut weight. This will be perfect. Is Rudy the guy that you get the sense of that the UFC is going, this is going to be the future. This is a guy that we want to make into a star. This is a guy that we want to, give the Paddy Pimblett treatment to.
It's possible. It depends on probably his first 2 fights in the UFC, how he does. But yeah, they pretty much try to give him a, how do you say that?
Cupcake.
Yeah, in the first fight, pretty much, because Ibo hasn't looked great besides that debut fight of his. So that's what they're trying. But we'll see. Listen, if Ibo wins, then of course not, but it's possible.
Meanwhile, we talked about earlier, it was Muhammad Abdul Malik versus Antonio Tricoli, but another guy that you start looking at the UFC and go, all right, they have big things for this kid. 8-0-1, undefeated, under the age of 30. A guy who also, we look in, 2-0 is UFC. He had a draw overturned with Cody Brundridge. What should we expect from this fight? And did the Brundridge fight sort of temper expectations on Malik?
Yeah, not really. That was just a judge's or referee's mistake, pretty much. Um, the thing is, like, I think the odds of this one is also -1,000, -1,200 for Mansour Abdul Malik. There's another showcase fight, man. Tricoli hasn't looked good at all in the UFC, and they want Mansour to get back on track, get a win here, and this is pretty much a squash match, in my opinion, they made here. And there's no disrespect to Tricoli, although I know it sounds like that, but I'm just being honest. I think Mansour wins that fight, 100%.
Last but not least, Muhammad Naimov versus Maron Santos. Uh, Featherweight scrap between two guys who are also new in their career. Santos is one of those guys you want to see, okay, are you surprised they made this fight also? Like Kafan Ofi, okay, looked pretty good. Francis Marshall split decision, beat Sodiq Youssef. You thought, okay, deserves maybe a step up. Is Naimov a step up, or is this another one of those fights you're looking at going, all right, well, it's sort of it's not cupcake, but it's sort of like, okay, a building block.
Well, I'm definitely surprised they made this fight, obviously, because Myron Santos told me that he was going to continue at 155, and now he's going back to 145. He said to me, like, I did well at 155, but at the same time, these guys are way too big for me actually to keep competing at 155. I need to go back to 45. So he goes back to 45, which is good. So if it comes to that, yeah, I was surprised they made that fight. On the other hand, it kind of makes sense. It's two guys who are like just under top 15, top 20, pretty much. Naimov has done well in the UFC, only lost one fight against Lima. I know the controversial one with Wood, but he got the win there. And Santos has won everything so far. So, and he had also a very difficult fight with Francis Marshall. A lot of people thought he lost, but he got the win there. It's an interesting fight, man. I think I would give Santos the edge in this fight because I think he's bigger and he's more skilled all around than Naimov, and he got knockout power. So that's why I would take him. But it's an interesting fight. I think, yeah, it's an interesting fight.
So this will be the final. I can't believe I'm saying this here.
Yeah.
The final pay-per-view in the as of now, the UFC history.
Hmm.
I know you're over in Europe, so you've never had to do pay-per-view, but for us Americans, like, okay, crap. It's gonna be lots of money. You got to pull out the checkbook, $90 for a friggin' card. Doesn't end till like 1 o'clock in the morning for you. It really doesn't end until like wee hours of the morning. How big is it for the UFC that, they're getting away from it? That after this, we'll have one more fight on December 13th. Then after that, we have a month off and we go to the Paramount where everything now is no longer pay-per-view. Just get a subscription and you're all set as of now. Knock on wood.
I mean, it's probably pretty big. You would know better than me because you're American, or you're in America. So you would know better than me. For me, it's
Oh, I'm
just
dancing. I'm dancing basically on tables. I'm just worried, like, okay, when's the other shoe gonna drop? You never sure with the UFC. It's like, all right, wait a minute here. There's a trick. I don't know what the trick is, but there's a trick.
yeah, who knows? We'll see in the future, man. Let's hope for you guys not. But yeah, I mean, it's those. I would say I sound like a cornball, but it's exciting times, I guess, for you guys over there. And yeah, let's see what they're gonna do. I don't know. I don't know what the deal's gonna be in. You guys probably know soon. Guys, I hope it's good for you guys.
So before we let you go, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Who we have two title fights:
Hmm.
Merab versus Petr Yan, Alexander Pantoja versus Joshua Van. Do we get a new champion in both one, or do the champions retain in this? I'm putting you on the spot. The degenerate gamblers want to know who should they bet on, who's going to win.
Yeah, don't tell me, please, but I'm going with both the champions in this one. I think Merab remains by decision and Pantoja remains also by decision. So yeah, that's what I think.
Well, we'll see what happens. Once again, the fights haven't happened, so you can't just go, yes, take our word for it. We got to wait. But once
Uh,
again, we are. I'm always proud to have on the show. I give you once again from MMA Oddsbreaker, from Eurosport UFC, and his own podcast over in Dutchland. I give you Marcel Dorff. So Marcel, once again, where can fans check you out at? Where is the Twitter, the Instagram? There's probably a Rumble channel, a YouTube channel. Where else can fans check out your work at?
Big Marcel 24, Twitter, Instagram, Eurosport.nl, mixed martial arts section for the articles. MMA Oddsbreaker with Adam Martin, preview and recaps of all UFC cards. We did one on Friday, this time with Alex Behunin from MMA Mania, which was cool. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me again, Chris. Enjoy the week, enjoy the weekend, and let's hope for some good fights next week so we can be positive afterwards, right?
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, UFC 323 doesn't disappoint. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, Marcel Dorff, always an honor, pleasure to have you on the show. We come back. We got a lot more going on here. Only on it's Last Call. Last Call of the Alcohol. Only on the Last Call Podcast.com.